The UCLA women's basketball season is one you don't want to miss. Your top 10 Bruins are well on their way to another Final Four run. We need you to get to Pauley to support this incredible team. Led by Lauren Betts, Gabriela Jaquez, and Kiki Rice, newcomers Gianna Neepkins and Charlize Ledger-Walker. This group plays an exciting brand of basketball and wins. The time is now to come to see these stars in action. Big-time matchups are coming. Go to UCLABruins.com/tickets to secure your seats today. Can't wait to see you in Westwood cheering on the Bruins.
Good afternoon. We're getting right down to business here. We're doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after Guy Benson at 3 and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz. It's Motac on Money, live on the air, 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at KBC.com. Of course, the on-demand Motac on Money podcast, KBC.com, Apple iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. Mixed finish for stocks today. Gold and silver having another big day today. Bitcoin just below 90K. All this after the Federal Reserve held the line on short-term interest rates today and signaled little urgency to continue cutting interest rates. They've been doing this for their previous 3 meetings. Today, they held the line. The first interest rate decision of 2026 came and went pretty much as the market had expected. They decided to hold the short-term Fed funds rate steady in a range between 3.5% and 3.75%. And it was approved on a 10-2 vote, according to the Fed chairman. The Fed chair, Jerome Powell, said recent economic reports had painted a somewhat brighter picture than the Fed managers had at their last meeting, with stronger economic growth and tentative signs of labor market stabilization. The recent slump in the dollar also raising questions over the potential risk of an economic downturn. Today, the dollar actually rebounded against other major currencies after sinking to the lowest levels we've seen in 4 years after President Trump brushed off the deepest drop in the dollar since the tariffs were launched last year. The rate decision today also coming amid a period of political tension for the Fed as the Trump administration locks horns with the Federal Reserve. In the latest chapter, the administration opened a criminal investigation against the Fed chairman over his Senate testimony about renovations at the Fed's headquarters. Also, we're waiting for some announcement on who will succeed the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell. President Trump has indicated it could happen any day now. In fact, today, the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, said that the president's inclination is we may hear something in the next week or so. President Trump said last week in Davos, Switzerland, that he intends to announce the Fed chair very soon, and his pick is expected to replace Jerome Powell, whose term as Fed chair, by the way, ends in the month of May. In all this, precious metals continue to shine. Gold hitting record highs today, getting a big pop. In fact, posting its biggest one-day advance in almost 6 years, settling above, well, it actually might be the biggest day ever today because I'm looking at gold here now. Just shy of 5,500. I believe it got above 5,500 earlier in the day. Silver is shining. Looks like it's up about $5 now, 118 and change. While we're at it, let's bring up platinum, hovering at around 2,722 and change, and palladium at 2,113. The metals at or near all-time highs. Price of oil hitting a 4-month high today. The president ratcheting up pressure on Iran, warning that a massive armada was heading for the Middle Eastern nation, and that time was running out for Iran to reach a nuclear deal. Looks like the price of oil rebounded today and is hovering above $63 a barrel here at the moment. The earnings parade continues, and looks like Microsoft will be in the spotlight first thing tomorrow morning, and analysts say it could see its sharpest post-earnings drop in more than 3 years. The shares have moved lower in after-hours trading. Tesla reported a 61% drop in profit for the fourth quarter after losing its edge as the world's leading EV maker, and said it would invest $2 billion in Elon Musk's private artificial intelligence firm after Tesla shareholders' views were mixed on that move. We see Tesla stock it closed slightly higher today at $431 and change. SpaceX also investing $2 billion in xAI, a competitor to OpenAI, according to the Wall Street Journal. The so-called Trump accounts being rolled out as part of a pilot program that deposits $1,000 from the U.S. Treasury into tax-advantaged accounts for eligible American children born here in the U.S. between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2028. Looks like J.P. Morgan Chase and Bank of America have announced in separate news releases that the firms will match the U.S. government's one-time $1,000 contribution to new children's retirement savings accounts for eligible employees, the latest financial firm to announce something like that. President Trump, meanwhile, blasting the pace of the firestorm rebuilding effort in the Malibu, Palisades, and Altadena areas. A year after the firestorms roared through the area, President Trump issuing an executive order to preempt the building permit process and empower the federal government to maneuver around local regulations here in the Los Angeles area. The president wants EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin to execute the latest order to bypass LA's bureaucratic red tape after Lee Zeldin led the largest ever EPA wildfire cleanup in 28 days and led to the next phase of debris removal. I'll discuss that and more coming up later this hour live with the Honorable Dennis Zine. He'll be on the line, former LA City Council member and former LAPD sergeant with 55-plus years of service to the City of Angels. Well, alongside all the other epic news lately, here's something you might have missed. The government is moving closer to giving your car the authority to decide whether you're allowed to drive under any circumstances. We'll get an update on the government kill switch, which could be in your next car. Lauren Fix will be joining us, co-host of the Drive Car Show syndicated radio program and founder of the Car Coach Report. She'll be joining us live later this hour. A lot to unpack here, so we got the right person on the line here now. Joining us live now on your money, the markets, the economy, and the whole works. Joining us live is Gabriel Wisdom, Managing Director at American Money Management, author of Wisdom on Value Investing. Gabriel Wisdom, thank you very much for taking the call this afternoon.
Well, thank you, Frank. It was a very big day with the Federal Reserve's key policy committee telling us that rates would remain unchanged, but the Fed has a real political and economic paradox, and it has to do with the affordability crisis. A large percentage of American households spend pretty much all of their income on necessities like housing, utilities, food, gas, and so forth. And so the mood about affordability is, well, it's testy. And here's the paradox. Even if interest rate cuts were to continue, if interest rates were to go down further, it doesn't fix affordability because lower rates, easier financial conditions certainly lift home values, they lift the stock market, they lift collectibles, and all these things go up faster than wages. So the people that have or benefit, the people who are struggling or concerned about affordability, they don't participate. And then we got a clean reading on the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, the core personal consumption expenditures index. It showed more elevated inflation at 2.8% for November. Of course, that data was delayed because of the impacts of last fall's government shutdown, but it's very, very clear that it was a decent decision to do nothing for now.
Holding the line, Gabriel Wisdom joining us live here, Managing Director at American Money Management, based right here in Southern California. Speaking of affordability, looks like gold and silver becoming less affordable this year with gold above $5,500 an ounce. Silver at around, $118 an ounce here as we speak. This as the dollar hit a four-year low yesterday. It did rebound a bit today, but you're also an economist and obviously a market analyst. Give us your take on this really just eye-popping jump in the precious metals with gold, silver, and indeed all the precious metals at or near all-time highs.
Well, Frank, it's clearly a geopolitical move. There's concerns about instability and where the U.S. is going to be over the next 3 to 5 years. Gold supply and demand characteristics, this is going to incentivize more mining, so that could potentially add to the available supply of gold. So I'd be pretty careful here. On the flip side, since gold broke out above 3,000 in May of last year, it's up sharply, and it could be up some. Well, we're above 5,000 now. If we go to 10,000, as Ed Yardeni is predicting, and others,
wow.
That's remarkable. Silver also it has a sort of a meme streak here. It's popular because it is popular, but it's very difficult to get silver. It's a byproduct of other mining activities. Remember when silver was around $6 an ounce? That caught the attention of the Hunt brothers. They ran it up to almost $50 in very short order. I hope this isn't a replay of 1979.
Right, and that's when it hit a record high before this most recent record run-up, and it's more than doubled the record high since then. But that is absolutely remarkable. And so, if gold goes to 10,000, would you sell it?
I'm not sure. There was a Goldman Sachs study that just came out predicting that the rally in the more base metals like copper and aluminum, for example, they're running into some headwinds because of softening demand from manufacturers, especially in China, but everywhere. The most recent survey of the copper market, for example, showed orders softening by 10 to 30% by users in industries from consumer electronics to hardware and so forth. Even the energy grid orders are slowing. I think all the metals, we've seen them rise together like the rising tide that lifts all boats. Right now, it's good to be an owner. It'd be very difficult to be a buyer.
On the air live with Gabriel Wisdom with American Money Management. You mentioned copper and that too hitting record highs recently. So we got our eyes on the metals, and then turning now to the so-called digital gold of Bitcoin and all this, having a rough time, well below its all-time high, which was above 126,000 last year. Right now, it's hovering at around 89,000. I know you keep an eye on the cryptos these days too. Any thoughts about what we're seeing with Bitcoin and the other major cryptos here?
Frank, it appears that institutions in particular may be withdrawing from Bitcoin just a bit. From what I've read, the trend is accelerating. The Bitcoin ETFs have recorded outflows during November and December, the worst 2-month performances on record. This week ending January 23 saw $1.25 billion in outflows from the Bitcoin ETFs. Those are very large redemptions. BlackRock's and Fidelity's ETFs are big contributors to these exits. So sometimes when there's a bear market, when the tide's going out, you get out of the way. Over the long run, where does it play? Well, we'll see if Bitcoin is digital gold. We know it's very difficult to create, but somewhat vulnerable to hacking by quantum computing algorithms, perhaps in the future.
Very interesting, and precious metals kind of overshadowing the stock market these days. So I don't think I mentioned the net change in the Dow was up 12 points today. The S&P 500 was down a half point, coming off a record high, and the Nasdaq managed a closing gain of 40 points, and the yield on the 10-year note today at 4.25%. What about the stock market here with the S&P 500 hitting a record high just yesterday? That is, we're told, a forward-looking mechanism. When the market is hovering near record highs, it expects good things. Looks like bond yields have ticked higher. The yield on the 10-year note, with the Fed holding steady on short-term rates today, it looks like that held steady at 4.25%. What are your thoughts on where the market, both the bond and the stock market, go from here?
I feel like it's going to go higher. There's certainly a lot of good buys or a lot of very cheap stocks out there that have been ignored. But the AI or artificial intelligence rally has been very, very real because the bigger players like Microsoft and Meta and Amazon and Google and Apple and so on, they're building out their Microsoft, certainly their AI infrastructures, and they're spending huge money. In fact, the big test comes from their earnings announcements because there's a considerable concern that all this data center spending may not pay off. But in the longer run, the AI boom is benefiting other companies, lots of them. For example, Corning, the specialty glass maker, is up almost 20%. Just this year, they struck a $6 billion deal to supply Meta with fiber optics technology for their data centers. So, this is helping.
All right, oil moving above $63 a barrel all of a sudden as tensions rise in the Middle East with the U.S. Armada approaching Iran, and a lot of back and forth here now and uncertainty as to what's going to happen there. What do you see happening there, and what impact will it have on oil prices and also the defense names which have taken the spotlight recently?
Frank, this is very interesting. Iran is a member of OPEC and a major player in the oil markets around the world. They produce 3 million barrels of crude oil every day. And the Strait of Hormuz, which connects the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea, that is widely recognized as one of the world's most important oil choke points. And so what Iran has done in the past is they block the waterway. If they do it even temporarily, it ratchets up the cost of energy. China accounts for some 90% of Iran's oil exports. So, in the short run, good news is there's somewhat of a glut of oil on the market because of softness in China. In the long run, you want to own oil and gas. It's not over for the traditional energy sources.
All right. The earnings parade continued today. Anything that caught your attention? Looks like it's going to be a nervous morning for Microsoft tomorrow based on the earnings news. And Tesla also came out with earnings. I don't know if you had a chance to hear Elon Musk on that call today and what he had to say about Tesla and his other entities. Anything that caught your attention this afternoon?
Well, what caught my attention was Amphenol, symbol APH. It was one of the worst performing. It was actually the worst performing stock in the S&P 500, even though it's a big supplier of data center technology. Last year, Amphenol was up some 140%, and it's doing very, very poorly now, even though revenue and earnings are going higher. That's a negative indication for the AI space, at least for now. The Tesla news, pretty exciting. They're ramping up the Tesla Semi Cybercab. They've got a next generation Roadster, but the big news, I think, is Musk is saying that by the end of next year, they plan to roll out 1 million robots per year. This is the Optimus robot that appeared to resist being shut down just a few months ago. So these are smart robots.
Very interesting. And yesterday was the healthcare stocks that took a hit, including United Healthcare, which sent the Dow moving lower. United Health rebounding a bit today. What about those healthcare names, given the current political environment and changes there with and obviously a lot more scrutiny now on how federal dollars are spent on healthcare?
Well, that's a difficult area, except for some major players like Eli Lilly, for example. It's been particularly active in AI. The company announced $1 billion partnership with NVIDIA to create an AI drug discovery lab of some kind up in San Francisco. We've seen other large pharmaceutical companies and some startups as well developing new drugs using AI in oncology, in immunology, and then there's this predictive analytics from AI that predicts future illnesses. It gives you some idea of what illnesses you might be subject to, so you can plan now to fight, to improve your chances for success. And we're talking about diabetes and heart disease 12 years out as a result of AI. So this is pretty exciting in the healthcare area.
Very interesting. And last but not least, any specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
Frank, the Pentagon said it's going to invest $1 billion in L3Harris Technologies missile business. They want to turbocharge production of weapons, in particular the Patriot and Tomahawk missiles and so forth. So what's L3Harris going to do? This is a company that's been around since 1895, back when the most exciting technology was was the movie projector. But now they're going to spin off the missile division. I'm going to be looking for that, because if it sags, a lot of spinoffs don't do well in the first year. They become attractively cheap. Lockheed Martin struck a deal with the Pentagon to more than triple production. They've got a spinoff coming, I believe. These are of interest to me. And then I like the payment process space. Global Payments is cheap. I'm looking at it.
Terrific. Gabriel Wisdom, Managing Director at American Money Management, based here in Southern California, also author of Wisdom on Value Investing. Gabriel Wisdom, always great to have you with us. Thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Thank you, Frank.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
The UCLA men's basketball season's in full swing, and we need you to get to Pauley Pavilion to support the Bruins. Don't miss a single chance to see this year's exciting team, led by Donovan Dent, Eric Daly Jr., Sky Clark, and Tyler Bilodeau. Pauley Pavilion, presented by Westcon Financials, the home of the greatest tradition in all of college basketball. We can't wait to have you join us as the Bruins continue to build on that legacy. With big-time matchups, go to UCLABruins.com/tickets to secure your seats today before it's too late. Let's get Pauley rocking.
The United States Soccer Federation presents the U.S. Soccer Podcast.
My name is David Goss. I am joined by two icons of the game, Megan Klingenberg and Ale Bedoya.
It's just been so fun
being a part of this community that we are building.
Hopefully we'll be not just a niche sport here in our country, but also even more respected across the globe.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We are excited to cover it all here at the U.S. Soccer Podcast. It is going to be a big year. Kling, red card, or play on?
A play on.
The U.S. Soccer Podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Motagua Money continues. 790 KABC. Mixed finish for the stock market after the Federal Reserve decided to hold the line on short-term interest rates, holding rates steady for their first meeting in this year, and also the first meeting they held the line in 3 previous meetings where they did lower rates, and today they signaled they're in no hurry to cut rates again. The Dow down yesterday big, but up 12 points today at 49,016 as United Health stock rebounded today. Was up $11 and change to 294. S&P 500, which hit a record high yesterday, slipped just a half point at the closing bell. Just below its record high now at 69.78 after popping above 7,000 early on. And the NASDAQ up 40 points today at 23,857. Gold up around 5,500 an ounce. Silver at 118 an ounce. We see platinum right now at 2,722 and change. And palladium at 2,113. Bitcoin at the moment at 89,300. Ethereum at 3,009 and Doge at 12 cents. Motagua Money continues here in 790 KABC. Good afternoon. President Trump blasting the pace of the firestorm rebuilding efforts in the Malibu, Palisades, and Altadena areas. A year after the firestorms roared through the area, President Trump issued an executive order this week to preempt the building permit process and empower the federal government to maneuver around local regulations. The president also wants the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin to execute his latest order to bypass LA's bureaucratic red tape after Lee Zeldin led what's described as the largest ever EPA wildfire cleanup in 28 days and led to the next phase of debris removal in the burn-scarred areas. Let's bring in the Honorable Dennis Zine now, former LA City Council member, former LAPD sergeant with 55-plus years of service to the City of Angels, who spent a lot of time in the fire-damaged areas. Dennis Zine is on the line. Thank you very much for taking the call this afternoon.
You're welcome, Frank. Pleasure to be with you. I met today with a gentleman who's lived in the Palisades for 49 years. And what he told me, and I asked him about the situation taking place, he said the insurance company is not settling. They're not giving what they're supposed to be giving. He said the cleanup went 95% okay, the cleanup when they got rid of the debris. He said plan check, they keep changing the rules in the city. Money from insurance is not what it's supposed to be. He said that Mayor Bass said there would be no fees on the reconstruction. He said that's not true. He said they're putting utility poles up when they should be underground. He says the area looks like a morgue. That's what his description was. It looks like a morgue, just vacant land, all disheveled because of what's happening with this terrible fire. But what he thinks is it would be appropriate if another authority other than the city of Los Angeles took over, because things aren't working out as they're supposed to be. He wants to rebuild his house. Again, 49-year resident, and he wants to rebuild. He's currently living in Pasadena in an apartment. But the bottom line is the city is not delivering what it needs to deliver for those folks that have lost everything they own. And until that happens, until it changes, they're going to continue. We've already gone through a year, and we haven't seen much progress other than the cleanup. So until something takes place, and maybe the president has the authority, the tools, the resources to make things happen. But when I talk to a person who's lived there for 49 years, a longtime resident, and this is the frustration that he feels, he throws his hands up and says, well, what's going to happen? When's it going to get done? We've already gone through a year with little to anything being done in that area other than the cleanup. So that's what's coming from a resident who's lived in that area for 49 years.
On the line with the Honorable Dennis Zine, former LA City Council member and former LAPD sergeant, live with us here on Motec on Money and 790 KBC. Apparently the pace of the permits and all that appear to be better in the county area there in Altadena. What is the holdup, since you have a lot of experience in LA city government? What is it going to take to turn the situation around quickly now with the president's help, or how can it be done?
Well, I don't know if it can be done with the city resources. We know the city has budgetary problems. We know they're talking about millions and millions of dollars in debt. I don't know if they have the resources to really make this happen with all the other responsibilities the city has with building safety and engineering and all the city entities. The city of Los Angeles has a responsibility. But according to this individual, again, a 49-year resident who'd like to build his home again, it's not being done in an efficient manner, an effective manner, and a timely manner. So I don't know if the city honestly has the resources. We know they're struggling for dollars. We know that the budget is coming up to another budget hearing as we'll start the new fiscal year starting July 1st. It's going to be another disaster because we anticipate there's going to be more cutbacks before we get to the new fiscal year. So what we need to do is let the president, if he can give the resources, let's say thank you and move it forward. Because people, and I patrol that area as part of my reserve capacity, and desperation in that area. When the fire was blazing and people were evacuating and cars burned and people lost their lives, I mean, the tragedy is over a year. Let's get back to basics and let's do something with that area that has gone through this devastation. But if you talk to people, and I hope some listeners who live there will call in and talk about their frustration with it, with the insurance companies that aren't paying what they're supposed to pay and all the hoops that people have to go through. So it's a matter of, is the city capable? I honestly don't think they're capable of handling this situation. So I think the federal resources, good, better, and different, if you like the president or not, that's not the issue. The issue is there's an obligation for those people, the residents, their families, for that area of the city of Los Angeles.
On the air live with the Honorable Dennis Zine, and I know you were present recently for an important occasion that the United Chambers of Commerce in the San Fernando Valley had organized with the new LA Fire Department chief. Tell us about that event and any big takeaways from that occasion.
Well, I think Chief Moore is going to be a wonderful man for that position. He's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of experience in fire service, a lot of management, a lot of degrees. He's been around. He knows the situation, knows the territory. I think he's the man who can make things happen. But what they want to push for is more equipment, more personnel, more stations. Again, now we're talking about additional dollars to the taxpayers. And when I hear more and more people asking for more tax dollars for different activities in the city of LA, they want to raise the half-cent sales tax. In addition to that, they want to have other taxes incurred on the voters. They're going to be pushing that for the next election. Well, 10.5%, 10.25%, 11, 12, 15, are we going to spend 15, 16% on sales tax for certain activities? I mean, all of a sudden, it's like a runaway train. Those voters, those residents, those business people, you start paying more taxes, people will start going to other jurisdictions to buy their goods and products. So I think they need to temper that and not go so crazy with it. And if we look at the billions and billions and billions that we're spending on homeless, maybe we should appropriate some of those dollars for the taxpayers and for the benefit of the taxpayers. I think we have to do something with the homeless, but obviously Judge Carter doesn't think we're doing what we need to do. A lot of people don't think that the city's doing what they need to do. And you've got billions and billions and billions going in for homeless, and we don't see any improvement in the population. We just did a homeless count, a miserable turnout of volunteers. I was one of the volunteers. It was a very low turnout of people going out there and counting the numbers. And I don't have a lot of faith in the numbers. And the Rand Corporation showed that the numbers are flawed. So there's just many, many problems. But the bottom line is the people in the Palisades, people out there, they deserve to have those homes built, and they need to get it done and not wait 5 or 10 years.
And on the crime front, since we last spoke, you probably saw the report of a homeowner opening fire on an intruder in the valley as these home break-ins continue. Any update on what's happening on that front?
Well, we know the LAPD is understaffed. There's no question about that. They don't have enough personnel. They want to get to an emergency call within 7 minutes. That's not happening. Devonshire now has, our Topanga division, I should say, has a drone. They launch a drone, hopefully get there quickly as they can. But the bottom line is the police department is understaffed. And until they get the proper number of people, adequate number of people, I should say, to do the job, to protect and serve, people are buying guns. There's no question. People are buying guns for their protection, them and their family. And you can use a weapon to protect yourself and your family. I'm not advocating go out and shooting people, but if someone's breaking in your home and they're breaking in with a weapon and it's a you or them, it's going to come down to that. That's why a lot of people are getting guns, because they don't think law enforcement can get there quick enough to protect them and their families.
The Honorable Dennis Zine, former Los Angeles City Council member, former Los Angeles Police Department sergeant, 55-plus years of service and counting to the City of Angels. Dennis Zine, thank you very much for joining us live this afternoon.
Thank you, Frank.
The UCLA women's basketball season is one you don't want to miss. Your top 10 Bruins are well on their way to another Final Four run. We need you to get to Pauly to support this incredible team. Led by Lauren Betts, Gabriela Jaquez, and Kiki Rice, newcomers Gianna Neepkins and Charlize Ledger-Walker. This group plays an exciting brand of basketball and wins. The time is now to come to see these stars in action. Big-time matchups are coming. Go to UCLABruins.com/tickets to secure your seats today. Can't wait to see you in Westwood cheering on the Bruins.
It's back. Hey, it's Dan Bongino. I've got some big news for you. Starting February 2nd, the show is back. That's right. The Dan Bongino Show is relaunching, and we're going bigger than ever. Join me live on Rumble.com Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern. We'll cover the stories that matter, cut through all the garbage, and get to the truth. Can't catch it live? No problem. Grab the audio wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, February 2nd, the return to the Dan Bongino Show. Don't miss it.
Motaga Money continues here, 790 KABC. Let's get it into gear now alongside all the other epic news we've been reporting this hour. There's something you might have missed. The government now is moving closer to giving your car the authority to decide whether you're allowed to drive it. Let's get an update now on what's happening about this talk about a government kill switch. Joining us live now, our go-to car expert, Lauren Fix, auto expert, co-host of the Drive Car Show. That's a syndicated radio program heard nationwide, and founder of the Car Coach Reports. Lauren, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this is very interesting. I've been monitoring this since 2021. So under the Biden administration, when they did the Infrastructure Act, which included lovely things such as flock cameras, those little cameras you see at every single intersection that collects your data. In addition to that, there was a provision under Section 24220, and you can look it up if you wish. It's 24220 in the 2021 Infrastructure Bill. It has a provision that is very craftily written that says that your vehicle, it was supposed to be all 2026 models, but that your vehicle will not just track your eyes, it'll listen to you in the car, it'll take your inputs of steering and acceleration and braking, plus the start-stop button was supposed to have, and they have not developed this yet, thankfully, that if you have any alcohol in your system, that if you touch the start-stop button, it will make a decision, judge, jury, and convictioner whether you can start the car or not. Now, when we first saw this, Thomas Massey came up and said, hey, hold on, he's a representative. He said, this is not good. This definitely is against the Constitution. People don't want it. Car manufacturers didn't like it. And it sort of disappeared because the technology was not there. But since then, since 2021, we've all seen on your car dashboard on the newer cars that say, pull over and take a break, you might need a cup of coffee, or this lane departure, when you change lanes, it kind of gives you a notification audibly or visibly that it pushes you back into the lane. And so that type of technology has evolved to the point that it can make a determination, and it's all based on software, if it thinks you're under the influence of something. Now, it was pushed through under the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and let me just clear this up. Nobody wants anyone on the roads drinking. And in reality, if you look at the real numbers, DWIs are down nationwide, but they're still pushing this through. So under the current bill that has just passed the House, making its way to the Senate and then to the president's desk, does have that Section 24220 in it to be funded. Now, I was recently on a podcast with Tudor Dixon, and she had a very good question. Who's getting the money? Follow the money. So I spent the last few days looking at where the money is going. There's about $45 million minimum, and that money is supposed to go for research and development. So somewhere there's a company that's going to get some of that money, whether it's owned by a politician or not, we don't know. But for you, the consumer, and this is not on cars that are currently on the lot, so you're okay right now, but there could be a software update that would affect many of us going all the way back. But this technology could decide you took your nail polish off, you were taking paint off a brush, you had mouthwash, there's maybe someone else in the car who was drinking and you're being the good Samaritan and driving them home so they don't drive. It would sense the alcohol in the air and not allow you to start your vehicle. And that could leave you in a tough situation. But in addition to that, that software would determine with Frank, you know what, you dodged a squirrel and then maybe there was a pothole you moved. Well, now it's going to start determining that maybe you're unsafe to drive. 4 ways will go on, the vehicle will move over and shut off, and you cannot get out of what I call kill switch jail. And there's no written anything for that right now. And this is a big concern because it goes to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration under Sean Duffy. I'm trying to get to him. So if someone knows, please get this to him, that this is a problem because if you've got someone in the car and it's an emergency, or you're a first responder or a firefighter or a police officer, a doctor, you're trying to help someone, a nurse, you won't be able to get to your destination because it senses your anxiety.
Isn't that something you'll be fighting with your own car? Well, hopefully you'll get a chance to testify on Capitol Hill on this, since you did such a fantastic job of laying it out so clearly. We're on there live with Lauren Fix, our go-to car expert here. And Tesla, let me switch to Tesla here for a moment. On that earnings report, a 61% drop in profit, by the way, for the fourth quarter for Tesla after losing its edge, according to the Wall Street Journal, as the world's leading EV maker, and said it would invest, this is interesting for you, Lauren, it will invest $2 billion in Elon Musk's private artificial intelligence firm after shareholders' views were mixed on that move. What's anything that caught your attention coming out of the Tesla news this afternoon?
Actually, there was a lot of interesting information. Of course, we know that revenue is down, and they sold 1.6 million cars from 1.8 million the previous year, so they had sharply lower profits. But what was interesting is that Elon expects, and this, I can't imagine this is true, that 95% of people to 99% of people will be driving in robo-taxi mode, in other words, self-driving mode. I don't see that. And much like riding a bicycle, if you haven't ridden one in a long time, you don't get good at it, and you need to learn to stay engaged with what's going on the road. And we've seen a lot of accidents. But on top of that, the big surprise was that they're no longer going to make the Model S, which is the original sedan, and the Model X, which is the SUV. They're going to cancel production at the end of the next quarter. So middle of the year, that's it. And that I found to be very interesting. And he thought that, this is going to be something that is going to be, I think it's going to impact his sales, because when you limit the S and the X, you're also talking, what about Model 3s? And if you look at the total number of sales of those vehicles, which is about 31,000 units combined, yes, it's less than last year, but the BMW iX sells about, the BMW BZ4X, which are both electric cars, sell about the same amount. And removing what they call their halo, their original product, the product that makes Tesla what it is, may not be a wise idea. Also, we're hearing that the Model 3 performance is not going to be made any longer. And so that's also, we haven't heard that for a fact, but it says Tesla will drop the Model 3 and the Model Y, but not till the end of 2026. So you better have some new product coming out, or he's not going to have anything left.
Very interesting. Anything that they're talking about? Expecting some new fancy coupe or something that that people will want to buy that looks good?
Yeah, there's a lot of new products. I just drove the Honda Pilot in California. It was very nice, a few changes, and we also got a chance to spend more time in the Honda Prelude, which is a fun little hybrid car. It seats four, but it's really two because the back seat's kind of tight. But it's a fun little car, bringing that Prelude name back. And what Prelude was all about is fun, and it slots between the Civic Si and the Type R, which is more of a racer boy looking car. It's a very normal looking vehicle. It was fun to drive, and it was hybrid, so it got phenomenal fuel economy. That you're going to see coming to dealers literally any day from now. Toyota's got a lot of new product coming. They're teasing some new SUVs, which I will be seeing in 2 weeks out in Ojai. So there's a lot of exciting new product coming out. Ford says they're going to be bringing Maverick EV, and that we probably won't see until 2027, which makes me question what's going to be the demand by then, because we're looking at total sales that are way off. And then on top of that, EV sales are also down.
Fantastic, Lauren. Thank you very much for that comprehensive update, as always. And looks like we'll have to get together again if you make your way down from Ojai then, following your business there. So hopefully see you back here in the Los Angeles area again as soon as possible. Lauren Fix, live with us here on Motec on Money on 790 KABC. Lauren, again, thank you very much and have a great evening. Coming up next, stay tuned for the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang. I'll be back with more at 4 tomorrow afternoon as we watch the precious metals continue on a record tear, with gold hovering at around 5,500 an ounce here, silver at around 118 an ounce, platinum getting another pop today above 2,700, and palladium at 2,113. Stay tuned, 790 KBC.
The UCLA women's basketball season is one you don't want to miss. Your top 10 Bruins are well on their way to another Final Four run. We need you to get to Pauly to support this incredible team. Led by Lauren Betts, Gabriela Jaquez, and Kiki Rice, newcomers Gianna Neepkins and Charlize Ledger-Walker. This group plays an exciting brand of basketball and wins. The time is now to come to see these stars in action. Big-time matchups are coming. Go to UCLABruins.com/tickets to secure your seats today. Can't wait to see you in Westwood cheering on the Bruins.